So, that's really interesting. So you went over to America. You've essentially then realised that coaching is what I want to do, and now obviously you're a UEFA level coach, which is a big deal. How strenuous? How difficult was it to do your UEFA badge?
Yeah, so it's a weird one. So when I kind of really got that interest for football coaching and wanting to be involved within an industry, and this is something I always talk to coaches about, you don't actually know going into coaching what you actually need. It's a big thing of you just think, do you know what, I want to be involved in football, I want to be involved in coaching. How hard is it? You go out there, you coach players. But finding out that you need to get these qualifications, and later on, which I found out is that, I perceive them as job indicators and not ability indicators, because, so many people have coaching qualifications, but it doesn't necessarily make them any more knowledgeable or any more experienced or even any more sort of prone to having the ability to be able to influence development or influence change or training within football players. So I kind of thought, what do I need to do? So I got my coaching qualifications, 2 of them through Arsenal, which then led me to thinking, well, I've got my level 2. I need to get my UEFA B. Now, at the time, when I came back from America, I went on to work for the FA for about 5.5 years or 6.5 years. And through there, I got an opportunity because although they're not a club, they was deemed as, well, at the time I was doing a bit of coach education. So they was deeming it as, well, you're advisable to go and get something like your UEFA B. Now, at the time, I had a few teams that I worked with, which was a benefit because you do need a team when you're doing the UEFA B. But I had done my UEFA B about 5 years ago now. So 2015, 2016 kind of time. And it's completely different to now. So I was one of the last crops of, or cohorts of coaches to do that. But at the time when I done it, the process was you have to go and attend some days where you obviously get some education from the tutors. And then what happens afterwards is you go away and you, practice and influence and put on those sort of ideas that you've gained from the course into your own environments. And then you come back, and then you get, a sort of day where you put on a session based on a set topic which the coaches will give you or the tutors will give you, and then you have to influence and put that session on. Now, I kind of refer to it as a bit of a driving test because it was kind of like you've got all the learning and the knowledge from the days that you've been up there. You're getting the practice when you're in your own environments, and then really and truthfully, it's a tough one because they judge you on that one day that you're up there. Whereas now it's not done like that. Now what happens is they will only pass you when they come into your own environment. So you're working with your own players and they deem you as, do you know what? You've understood the learning. You know how to implement it. Now you can pass. But when I went up there, I'll never forget. So I went to Stamford in Peterborough and, I went up there and, I think, this is the thing, you don't actually have to take the actual final course. You can sort of adjourn it for a little later on when you feel more comfortable to. So I think we had about 25 people on our course, but only 18 ended up taking it on the final weekend. So we finished a little bit earlier. So we managed to cram everyone in on, I think, the Friday and the Saturday. So I hadn't booked a hotel for that Sunday because I thought to myself, well, it'll be fine. We'll come back up. I'll be up there for the day. But we finished early on the Saturday, so I had to drive back from Stamford, which is about 2 hours 30, 2 hours 45 minutes. And I had to drive back up on the Sunday to Stamford, which is, like I said, 2 hours 30, 2 hours 45, just to find out if I had passed or not. I was like, driving up there, well, it's one of two things. I mean, I was prepared and I was prepped for it. I'm either passing or I'm failing. It's either going to be a decent journey home or it's going to be a nightmare journey home.
You would have been fuming if you'd failed that, like driven all the way there just to find out. Was there not no other way they could have done that rather than you having to drive all the way to Stamford to find out your results?
Do you know what? I would have loved to have gone a different way, but no. And the thing is as well, is I then considered like, should I maybe try and get a hotel for the Saturday evening? But then I thought to myself, not to be negative, but I thought, what if I fail as well? So I've had to fork out for a hotel. I've had to stay here with it on my mind for the whole evening, fail, and then drive back as well. So I thought, do you know what? What will be, will be. And obviously went away. So fortunately, I passed it and, obviously I got some good feedback from it. But that whole sort of, journey of doing the UEFA courses is challenging because at the time, you get given a crop of players who you're not used to working with. Sometimes it's the peers that you've been working with on the course as well. And I don't know if you've ever been to any sort of CPD or courses. Honestly, everybody has an opinion. Like, you know, you could maybe put a cone down and then put one down a few centimetres away. Why has he done that? Why have you put a cone that close or that far away? So it's very challenging because sometimes, not that people don't want you to pass, but everyone looks at it through the coaching goggles. And if they kind of think, well, I wouldn't do that, trust me, they can make it quite a challenge for you when you're actually trying to deliver your stuff. But I think for me, it was just understanding. As long as I understood, and I'm like that in life anyway, as long as I understand what I'm talking about and what I'm doing and understanding why I'm doing it, then it's a pretty clean sail, really. But yeah, challenging situation because you're constantly having to practice. And that was the only advice I could really got given and could give out for your UEFA courses. Practice, practice, practice. So that then you're getting more and more used to developing and putting these settings on. With
that, with the course, it kind of sounds like a reflection of the education system in the UK anyway, where it's like you learn, and then, well, especially when you did it, then all the pressure's on one day, and if you failed, then you failed. But it sounds like they kind of changed it up and it's more holistic and it's more based on if you are a decent coach as opposed to if you can actually deal and handle the pressure.
Yeah, I agree. And it's interesting because later on down the line, I've done a university course within football as well. And as part of my dissertation, I've done something based around how grassroots coaches development is affected by CPD. And as one of the interesting things that came out from that, I think there's a guy called Lombard. He done a model called the 70-20-10 model. And it was something based around learning and development. And actually what he found out is that 10% of the educational learning that you achieve is through the tutors, which we all go onto these courses thinking, you know, what are these tutors going to teach me? You want to take as much as you can away from it. But actually only 10% of your learning comes from that. 20% of it comes from the conversations that you have with other learners on the course. So just through reflections and discussions and finding out things. But 70% of it is done within your own environments. So now that obviously these courses have gone to the approach where, like you said, the more holistic approach of they come out and see you in your own environments with the players that you're working with, I think it's a lot better because actually 70% of that is learned through you developing and putting these sessions on with your own players. Whereas when you're doing it on these courses, like you said, it's fight or flight really. It's, you know, can you handle the pressure and can you deal with the situation on the day, depending on what turns up really.
So anything can turn up then, so they can just chuck anything at you. Do you kind of have a list of things that you might have to tick off the list that you know is going to come up, or it could be absolutely anything?
So, for example, I think my topic was something about defending crosses from wide areas. So, for me, obviously going into it, like I said, as long as I know what I'm doing and as long as I understand why I'm doing it, it was simply the thing from my point of view, how I dealt with it was, okay, what area of the pitch am I focusing on? I'm focusing on the wing. Which players are going to be my primary players? So it'll be the wingers, it'll be the fullbacks. It might be the centre backs and the centre midfielders because that will be your closest point of contact. And then you look at your secondary and your third set of players. Then they come up with a system which I suppose is a bit of a tick box system where it was on the ball, around the ball and off the ball. So on the ball is your maybe 1v1, your winger v your fullback. Your around the ball, like I said, will be your centre backs and your midfielders. And your off the ball might be your opposite wingers. So potentially if you decided, do you know what, can we switch the play or can we get our other wingers to come in and help in the attack sort of thing. So there was a kind of, I say, assessment, which they do base you on because from their point of view, they need some sort of accreditation to say, yes, you're deemed as acceptable because you've ticked these boxes. But again, from my own experiences, yes, these key technical points are important, but it also is based on how the coach deals with certain things. Because believe me as well, by the time that you're actually doing these final day assessments, people are absolutely blowing and they have no energy, no like motivation to carry on wanting to play. So you're getting players dropping out here and there and you have to deal with that as a coach. You know, it might be, okay, well, look, do you know what? I set up to have 4 defenders at the back to defend these crosses, but actually I'm going to have to go to a 3. So how does it look when we're playing 3 central defenders and maybe 2 wing backs? So it was all that adapting really. And I think that they took a lot of flexibility, but also respect for if you do change things slightly and you understand why, then that's fine.
Okay.
It's crazy because that it really suggests, I mean, football anyway is a game of opinions, but that's so subjective because how you deal with a cross, you know, like, depending on what country you're in, there might be a completely different coaching philosophy. Do you know what I mean? That's it's mental. It's so subjective. How can you how can you grade someone on that? So
I agree. I think it's crazy.
Yeah.